I'll come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. From the booth to the field, every Saturday feeling you home. We ride that rivalry, make that living room sound like the zone. From Tiger Growls to Rebel crowds, every hometown heartbeat loud. Rob Browne turning up that talk like you right there inside the crowd. SEC, sideline sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brandon Martin, keep him Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. Hey!
Love it.
Woo! Hey, God, it's Friday. Hey, Timmy, how are you, buddy? Good to see you, Tim Tebow. He's always on my shoulder. Always looking over, Timmy. Always looking over my shoulder.
I love this band. I love the rhythm.
I just say that every time.
Well, I do. And music, I play it from my 91-year-old mom on a turtle box, and she absolutely lights up. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Do you remember September? And Charlie Rich and Glenn Campbell. She likes it all. So, hey, Brendan, good morning. Executive producer Brendan Martin in the studio in Ocala, Florida. Thanks all of you for liking, sharing, and watching this show. If you've never watched it and you're checking in, you saw it on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, welcome aboard. And get in the chat room. Engage with us. You got questions, you want topics addressed, you got questions on the show. We've got a great panel, okay? And support our sponsors. You'll see the QR codes. Take a picture with your phone. We're broadcasting, streaming live on 9 channels of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube,
Social media,
as well as Instagram, all over social media.
There you go, Rob. Get it out. There we go. Matt Kane, Tommy Kane, how are you? Good. Welcome to the show.
John Hartwell.
Play that music again. Play that music again.
Hey, you like that? You like that, Tommy?
I was jamming, man. I was drumming.
I love that.
That was great.
That is a band that Brendan and some of the boys down in Ocala, they play in the garage. They get after it. They are really good. Tommy said, folks, in the pre-show, in the green room, as it's called, that this should be a national holiday. I agree with you. It's a great day. Brendan, today, work productivity.
Rob, you don't work for a living. You know that, right?
Yeah. This is more fun than anything you can do, getting to talk sports with people. And all of you that are watching, we're blessed beyond belief. And we're lucky. We got people all over the country, all over the world watching, a lot of expats, military folks. God love you. And tune in. We're going to talk a lot today. I'll start with Tommy and then go right to Matt. You got your brackets filled out. You don't have much time if you haven't, but the play-in games are over. Dayton is an exciting place. It's NCAA basketball, Tommy.
Oh, my gosh. You know, the problem is I stayed up so late watching the daggone games last night. I'm half asleep this morning trying to get up to do stuff. But, man, it really should be a national holiday. I can remember, like, when I used to, we used to run the pools at Fox Sports and all that stuff when I was working in that thing. We would, all day long, we would just all sit around in the offices and watch TV and watch basketball and we'd have 10 monitors going. It was
a whole wall of them, wasn't it?
It was Camelot. It was Camelot. It was like, I could just die right here. I'd be a happy man. But, it's the best time of the year. Best time of the year. I love every minute of it. The games so far have not disappointed. Of course, my Wolfpack. Yeah, they lost to Texas the other night, but it was a March Madness type ending, which is great. Get your blood pumping, and it's funny. I started doing my brackets the other day, and I realized like in some of those daggone play-in games, like that Texas NC State game is an 11v11. You kind of got to wait until the game's over to kind of finish your bracket to look at your next matchups. So it's interesting. Waiting on some of the games last night, like Miami, Ohio. Oh, what a great story. Yeah. What a great story, Matt. Come on, man. Like everybody in the country's like split. They don't deserve to be in. They should be in. They should be in. And I agree with Charles Barkley. He said it over and over in the broadcast the other night. They can't control their strength of schedule. They can't control who they play. Their job is to win every game that they get put in front of, and they did. That you should credit that, and I'm glad they did, and I'm glad that even though SMU is an ACC school, which is still hard for me to even say, but I'm glad that Miami made a statement last night against SMU.
Yeah, and it is good. And Dino Hoops, catch him. Pick up on what Tommy was saying. These games all are interesting, but you got to be careful when you're picking out your brackets to not overcomplicate all these matchups. I mean, a lot of times the lady Lois in our back office that cleared all of the checks and commission checks, she would win it, because she was so calm. And everybody that watches all this basketball, it's analysis, paralysis, or paralysis analysis, Dino.
Hey guys, it's a great day. It's a holiday, like Tommy said. And Tommy, the NC State game the other day was intriguing to me how Texas had so much trouble with the pressure lately in the game. And I thought NC State was going to steal that one. Incredible. I think it was Marks that made that big shot. It was not, that's good defensive possession. That's like a 19, 20-foot shot to win that game. I was just shocked at Texas's inability to handle the press. Now, I'll be honest with you. The winner of that game, I felt like all along could beat BYU. I mean, I think BYU's talented, but I felt the winner of that game in Miami of Ohio. I'm just so thrilled. I've been a Cinderella my whole life at Rhodes College, and for them to do that, I honestly think they can beat Tennessee. I think it's crazy, but Miami of Ohio is a team. They play selfless. They share the basketball. Those are the hardest teams to defend for, but I will tell you, Coach Barnes defensively will have them scouted well. Tennessee can still guard. And then I'll tell you guys, there's so many good games the next 2 days. I really like the first 2 days the most. And I'll tell you, I even in one of my brackets, let's go back to the MAC, I actually had Akron, the other team that's representing the MAC. I had them up hitting Texas Tech. Now, logically, that's probably not the greatest to pick, but I just think there's so many games out there in these first or second days that can really go either way. Like I actually think Santa Clara is going to give Kentucky everything they asked for, just because Kentucky has been inconsistent the whole year. So it's going to be fun. I'm curious with everybody's Final Four later. But I thought Miami of Ohio last night stole the show.
Yeah. John Hartwell, jump in here. Matt Dean, Tommy Kane's opening statements, top that. That's going to be fun.
Man, I just hope that I have missed the conversation on the best defense that's been shown yet in terms of defense against a free throw, and that's the men's swim team from Miami coming out in force, in Speedos, and clearly that shook up the SMU free throw shooter and the head coach for that matter. But that was classic.
Well, look, all these games, if we expand it, it's still going to be big. We can't get enough of it. Tommy, from a TV angle, you've got TNT, TBS, True TV. The local news in Memphis this morning, they're saying, look, our regularly scheduled programming, there will be a slight interruption. Last year, the weekend of the Final Four, we had tornadoes all day. I remember Channel 3, Matt, Tyler Eliason, the brand new weather guy was going, please, the phone calls. I'm just trying to help. And people were like, there could be a tidal wave coming down the street. And you barely got to see any of the Auburn-Florida game. But Tommy, from a TV perspective, is this the busiest day of the year, these next two?
Oh, yeah. I think so. And guys, like when we all grew up, it wasn't an option. No. Like all these games weren't an option. You got one game maybe if you were lucky during the day, and then you just followed the ticker across the bottom. And heck, you can even go back even further. When I was growing up in North Carolina, because it was North Carolina, like our third and fourth grade teacher would roll the TV into the room on a rolling cart, and we would watch the ACC tournament. And then if one of the teams in the ACC made it to the NCAA, we'd watch those games if we could. But it's beautiful now because you can go to the multi-screen of on your TV. You can put all three games up at the same time, and it's euphoric. It's just fantastic, And but I would agree with Matt. Like I was looking at the brackets, and I'm one of those guys. Just so you guys know, I'll fill out 12 brackets.
Yeah.
and every one of them is a little bit different just because I just, I can't, but like you said, Rob, I try not to overthink it. And I usually pick one dark horse that I kind of like to kind of make a run every year and see if I can ride them to kind of, because that's how you end up winning the pools if you can pick the right dark horse. But I mean, I was looking at the brackets the other day. There's going to be some upsets. There just is. It's March Madness. It's great. I agree with you on the Akron call, and I agree with you on the Santa Clara call. I saw Santa Clara pop up against Kentucky, and Kentucky has just been struggling. They can't get out of their own way. And Santa Clara's, I mean, there's some good teams out there. You mentioned Texas Tech. They lost their big stud player and Tobin, but they've been playing well without him so far. And I think a lot of times teams really kind of rally around and get that momentum. Like people are counting us out because our star's out, but we're still a good team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a run. And I really like Iowa State. I haven't got the chance to watch them much. I've just been reading about them a lot and stuff. And they got some players, and it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be awesome. My bracket could very well be completely busted by the end of today, day one, right?
Yeah.
But I even got I'll tell you guys this too. I have two daughters. One's about to be 12 and one's about to be 10. I got young kids, and I got them all wrapped up in this stuff now. We got a big dry erase board at the house. It's got all the brackets on it. They filled out their brackets last night, and they're doing the analyst stuff. They're clicking on the thing to see the strength of schedule, and I'm teaching them all about that. God. Man, I'm telling you, it was one of the greatest days of my life yesterday.
Well, I mean, it's like teaching your kid how to read a debit and ledger, a balance sheet. That's very important.
Life skills. Life skills, Rob.
There are life skills. All right, what we're going to start doing, let's start attacking these brackets, and I love this. We've got Duke, Florida, Arizona, Michigan. I'll start with you, Matt. Your Final Four, if you want to pick them now, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it is close to tip-off for the March Madness. I'm just curious what everybody thinks, because a lot of people watching might listen to what we say.
So Tommy and I agree on Iowa State. I actually like Iowa State so much I have them in my Final Four. I think they defend really well. I love their toughness. I think they lost a close one in the Big 12 finals. Now, if I go up the bracket to Arizona, this is where I had a really hard time last night. I love the way Arkansas is playing. We could see an Arkansas-Arizona matchup in the Sweet 16. In one of my brackets, I'm like Tommy. I have multiple. Obviously, I love Arizona, but one of my brackets, I had Arkansas beating Arizona in the Sweet 16, which would be considered an upset. But when you got Acuff Jr., anything can happen. I think Arkansas can score the ball. On the other side, I thought Duke got better as the ACC tournament progressed without their point guard and Foster. So I still have Duke coming through the East, though I think the St. John's Duke game, guys, in the Sweet 16 could be a really good basketball game if that matches up. A lot of people I've seen have Michigan State coming out of this bracket. I still think Duke is better than Michigan State, even with being banged up. So I like Duke. Now, I'll tell you the game that's real intriguing to me. I think Elite Eight in the South. Most of my brackets, I got Florida beating Houston. However, there's a stat that's really interesting, relates to how my teams played the game. Houston leads the nation with only 8.5 turnovers a game. I think if they continue to protect the basketball and get more possessions than their opponent, that could help them the further on they go in the tournament. So I think Houston's the only team, in my opinion, that could give Florida a run in the South region. So the one bracket I had Duke, Florida, Iowa State, and Arkansas, though I also like Arizona as well. The winner of that game, I went either way in both brackets, if that makes sense.
All right. So, John Hartwell, let's get down to critical analysis. It's tax time. Houston, Florida. Last year, I picked Florida to beat Houston for the championship, and they did. It was a hell of a game. We talked a lot on the show this week about defense or lack of it in the SEC. That matchup, if it's Florida Vanderbilt, if it's Florida Houston, what do you think happens, and what are your Final Four teams?
Yeah, I'll go with I'm going to start in the Midwest.
Okay.
Because I had Alabama there before the little incident this past week. I think I've got to agree with Matt. I'm going Iowa State. And I'm actually going, which is a little unusual for me because I'm going to go Midwest hoops. I'm going to go the Purdue Boilermakers. A lot of people have not penciled them in to the Final Four. I still think Matt Painter is one of the best coaches out there. And, I know sometimes they say good guys don't finish first, but Matt Painter is one of those guys in the business that I don't know anybody that has much bad to say about Matt Painter. He's just one of the good guys. I'd love to see him have an opportunity to win a championship in the backyard this year. And I know that's a personal sidebar there, but I really do think Purdue has what it takes to get to that Final Four. They've got a team full of veterans. I look at the East region, and yes, I've ultimately got Duke coming out of there. But you look at the coaches, you got Patino in this region. You've got Izzo in this region. Anybody who's a gambler, I wouldn't bet against Tom Izzo in an NCAA tournament game at all. I mean, that's just that's tough. So I'm going to go with Duke there. It is absolutely a toss-up for me between Florida and Houston. I think Florida is more talented and deeper. I think Houston will get after your ass defensively.
Yes.
I mean, they will absolutely get after you defensively. So I'm going to go Duke, Florida, Purdue, and Iowa State as my Final Four. A couple today I just want to touch on really quickly. The Troy Trojans and Nebraska. I did see this morning, and I know every person in the state of Nebraska is going to be tuned in because I saw something about Nebraska wins today, which would be their first ever NCAA tournament win. Bud Light is going to be flowing all over the state of Nebraska. I'm going to pull up the article while you guys continue to talk.
Okay.
I'm going to read the facts on it, but it's basically, if Nebraska wins, it's free Bud Light across Nebraska.
That'll be 1.7 million Bud Light drinkers. Well, potential, age permitting, of course. All right, Tommy, let's focus and talk about that Nebraska. But I know let's talk about the games that are being played today that really jump out. If we can look at the games on day one, because these first 2 days, I mean, there's 32 games, 16 today, 16 tomorrow. So look kind of at these matchups, pick some winners.
First of all, I'm going to go move to Nebraska real quick this morning before the game starts.
That's right.
Just in case I get some free Bud Light for the
Right.
day. Hey, look, real quick, I'll just give you, and I agree so much with what with Matt and everybody said so far. I'll give you real quick my Final Four consistently across the board. Maybe not every bracket, but I got Michigan State coming out of the beating Duke. I got Florida coming out, but they're beating Illinois. I got Illinois taking down Houston because I think that there's a possibility of that happening. I got Arizona. I think Arizona is just too loaded up and down the board. They can score the basketball better than anybody in the country. And then I got Iowa State coming out down there of the Midwest as well. But as far as today's game, Rob, there's some good ones. I think there's going to be a couple blowouts. I think like High Point and Wisconsin to me, I think is going to be they're just outclassed there. Vanderbilt McNeese, I like that game a lot today. I think McNeese has got they're all the kids that Will Wade had brought in last year, and a lot of some of those guys in there. They play hard, they get after it. Vanderbilt's been playing great though in the SEC. They made a great run through the SEC tournament. I love that game today at 3:15. I'm excited to watch that. And of course the 8-9 seed, right? That's always it's about as even as it gets. TCU, Ohio State. That's the first game I think today at 12:15 it tips off. But just a good lineup all the way across the board. I'm excited to see VCU in North Carolina. I really don't know that much about VCU. I know I've watched North Carolina a lot this year. They without their stud right now, and but they can be kind of up and down. So VCU might be in the end of that game, might be a good mix in the end of that game. But a lot of good basketball today, just across the board. And then of course late tonight, and I'll be up watching it all, and I'll be in bed by midnight again. But I think
that's early. With these matchups, especially if you got West Coast games.
Yeah, Kennesaw State and Gonzaga. I mean, I know Kennesaw State's a team out of Georgia, right outside of Atlanta there that I, been living down there for a long time. So I'm just curious to see them play. Never seen them play live because they're hardly ever on TV. But I'm just curious to see what they bring to the table. And I mean, there's gonna be some holy crap moments today, for all of us. We're gonna be like, I can't believe that team just beat them. And that's what's so great about this. It's just great.
Yeah, and Antoine Petway, Kevin Scarbinsky mentioned yesterday, former Alabama basketball player, is the head basketball coach at Kent State. All right, Matt, I want to ask you, Tommy mentioned McNeese and Vanderbilt. McNeese defensively is a really strong team. Look at their balance sheet. Could you see the Cowboys from McNeese, the alma mater of a lot of great people like Tanner Stein, could they pull off a win over Vandy?
I think they can play with them. I agree with Tommy. That roster was left intact. I think it's just going to be Vandy played so well in the SEC tournament. I mean, to answer your question, Rob, honestly, those 5-12s, a lot of times that's the perfect upset slot. I'm just going to keep riding the Commodore wave, as let me call it right now. Okay. I think they're at a really good point. And honestly, the winner of that game, it could happen. What if we had a McNeese-Troy round of 32? I'm looking right there. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm like, Nebraska-Troy, that's an interesting game. Fred Hoiberg, the mayor, as we call him in Iowa, not so affectionately with the Hawkeye fans, but Iowa State fans. Nebraska, like John referenced, I think in their history, think about this, they're 0-8 in NCAA competition. That means they've played the NCAA tournament in their history 8 times. I mean, everyone knows like Tom Osborne in the history of football if you're born like when I was. But Nebraska's for real. I've watched them play several times this year. They actually guard the ball really well. They're a defensive team. They're a half-court team. Another game today that's really intriguing to me is TCU Ohio State. Ohio State has a player, Bruce Thornton, averaged over 20 points a game that had a really good Big Ten tournament game, 2 games. So I think that's a coin flip. I got to be honest, guys. I have not done my research that much on TCU. I haven't watched them play much. Jamie Dixon, though, always seems to have his teams ready to play. But I'm really curious, John, your opinion on Troy. I hate it for Nebraska, but it wouldn't shock me if they're 0-9 after today because I think Troy is going to give them a heck of a game. I think their coach, Scott Cross, does a great job.
John Hartwell, follow up on that. McNeese State Cowboys, I think a lot of people will be watching that. Keeping a team intact, John, almost unheard of in this era.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Scott Cross's interview yesterday, and he said that every player that is suited up for Troy today either played in the game, in the NCAA tournament game last year, or was on the bench. So if you think about that, they're not going to go in there starstruck and, kind of walk their way through the first 10 minutes of the game. They're going to be ready right off the bat. And this team's big, they went to Southern Cal and won. They won some games this year. This Troy team is not a fluke at all. And I think they're going to play very well. And a lot of people, think that Troy, that Scott Cross could very well be the next head coach at Georgia Tech. We'll see how that plays out here in the next few days. But there's a lot of people who think that. Hey, just as a point of clarification, an Anheuser-Busch spokesperson on Wednesday said that if the University of Nebraska men's basketball team wins Thursday in the opener of the NCAA tournament, quote, fridges are already placed throughout Omaha and Lincoln full of cases of Bud Light cans that will be unlocked when the buzzer sounds. So if you don't think that the students at the University of Nebraska and people throughout the state will be taking it to the next level, that's going to be pretty wild for that game there. Just real quickly, McNeese. Yeah, I mentioned this the other day. I've known Bill Armstrong, the head coach there, since he started as an assistant for Andy Kennedy at Ole Miss. He actually played at UAB, a Birmingham native. He's been through some good programs. He was at Baylor the last couple of years as an assistant there. Obviously, he was at LSU. But the one thing a lot of people don't realize, he spent 2 years as the head coach at Link Academy. If you don't know about Link Academy, they're right there as one of always the top 2 or 3 prep schools in the country with players. NBA rosters are littered with Link Academy players. So Bill knows how to get guys to rise to the occasion. I expect McNeese to give them everything they want today. But at the end of the day, I think Vanderbilt wins the game. Vanderbilt is playing very, very well right now. Yeah,
they are, Mark. Byington, second year, very, very impressive. All right, quick question, Tommy. Best chance, best ACC hope to win it all? It's pretty obvious. Maybe it's Duke in your opinion, but outside of Duke, and then best SEC team outside of Florida to make a good run.
Outside of Duke, I'm going to go with Virginia. I think Virginia's loaded. I think Virginia's got a bunch of veterans on their team. I think they play good, smart basketball. If they're shooting the ball well from out, then they're really they're a tough team to beat because they play such good defense. I would say Virginia, and I believe if I remember correctly, they are in the Midwest bracket down the bottom there. They got, I think their toughest opponent they'll run into is probably going to be Iowa State. So I think Virginia is going to be a good run from the ACC. SEC schools, I mean, to be honest with you, I like Arkansas just because of their coach. I mean, yeah. Arkansas and Calipari. I mean, you just can't. It's like John said earlier. You can't guard. I mean, you can't go against like a Tom Izzo. You can't go against a John Calipari. You're just going to have his team ready to play. They're going to be good. They're going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them, in that matchup in Arizona in the third round and see how that goes. But I would say Arkansas would be my pick out of the SEC to go if not talking about Florida.
All right, one other question. Louisville, South Florida. A lot of people are liking South Florida in this game. What's going on with Louisville? That is growing up in Memphis, the Memphis-Louisville basketball rivalry. Louisville would bring 10 or 15 Greyhound buses of fans to every game. And I mean, there were fights in the dang concession stand lines. That was it wasn't Duke, North Carolina. It was they hated it. They despised each other, the fan bases. But I've always followed Louisville since Denny Crum and one of the great comb-overs in the history of comb-overs.
I'll tell you what, real quick, I don't bet on college basketball. I just don't, because I just take some of the love out of the game for me, right? But if you look at the spreads, I mean, that game is a 4.5. Louisville's favored by 4.5. That's not a lot for that matchup, right? When I was looking at that, I was like, whoa. And guys, as we all know, Vegas doesn't get it wrong. I mean, they just don't. They don't. 95% of the time, they are point on target. So that's going to be a ball game. South Florida is got a 25-win season. They're good. I mean, it's going to be a ball game. I mean, and we'll see if Louisville can step up or not.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, look, TVs today. Elvis had one TV for ABC, NBC, and CBS News. Had them all lined up. Every now and then, he might just blow them out with a shotgun or something if he didn't like what was on the news. Nowadays, you go in a sports bar, there may be 75 or 100 TVs, Dino. I know at the Skybox today, when I'm eating lunch, there will be a lot of basketball on. What are your picks for the SEC outside and the ACC outside of Duke and Florida, teams that could make a really strong run?
I'm with Tommy on Arkansas. SEC. Matter of fact, I have a bracket where Arkansas makes the Final Four. That being said, I think one of the most intriguing second round matchups could be Wisconsin and Arkansas. Wisconsin's playing really good basketball right now. And they're traditionally Wisconsin is one of those grinded out teams that plays in the 60s and 50s. They got a team that can score. So I think that would be a really good matchup. In the ACC, I also defer to Tommy. Tommy, I actually had a question for you. I was looking at Miami of Florida. I don't know much about Miami, so that game today or whenever they play Missouri, to me, is a real intriguing matchup. And the reason I say that is we could see Miami-Purdue in the second round, and just knowing how well Purdue is coached, Miami probably has a little bit more athleticism on the floor. So I'm curious your thoughts on Miami of Florida. I need some help with that, brother.
You're muted, Tommy.
Here.
You're good. You're good.
Good.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you, Matt. I mean, I feel like Miami's just been so up and down all year with what they've played, but they've played a good, I'm just looking, I just pulled up their box here real quick. They're 32nd ranked in the country. They're 2-5 versus top 25 teams. Their strength of schedule though, 98th. So they didn't really play a whole lot of big teams outside of their, matchups inside the ACC that would kind of build that up. But, I mean, Missouri is 5-5 in their last 10. Miami's 7-3 in their last 10. I think it's a toss-up. I really do. I think it's a toss-up. Yeah.
All right, John, of all these games that we're looking at out here and talking to SEC, ACC specifically, give us your pick outside of Duke, outside of Florida, to make the best run. I mean, Musselman took Arkansas to back-to-back Elite Eights, including they beat the number 1 overall seed Gonzaga on that famous Thursday night. I remember watching that game like it was yesterday, and I think that was 3 or 4 years ago. Man, time flies.
Yeah, I'm going to agree on the Virginia front. Ryan Odom's done a really nice job. They've got some veteran players. They're not a real flashy team, but I like them because they're very blue collar, kind of lunch pail group that is consistent. And I think that's really important in NCAA tournament play. Consistency and sticking to what got you there. I know some teams vary their game plan significantly depending on the opponent. I think to have success in the NCAA tournament, you got to stick to what got you there. So I'll stick with Virginia. But I will also say this. I'm going to take a little different route in the SEC. Absolutely, Arkansas could get there. But I'm going to go with the numbers. You've got 4 SEC teams in that Midwest bracket. You got Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky is the one that gets there. But Georgia or Tennessee or even Alabama, even though they're going to, they're dealing with some off-the-court issues, they could win 2, 3, 4 games and get there. So I know that's kind of a cop-out pick, but I'm going to say, hey, let's look at one of those out of Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky coming out of that Midwest region just because of the numbers there.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, I know we got a couple of more minutes before you got to go.
Yeah.
But Gary Harris will be on here with us from Tuscaloosa. We're going to get into that and more SEC and ACC and NCAA basketball. But Tommy, your thought to big picture of this tournament. Defense. You're not seeing a lot of defense. Who are some teams outside the SEC that could catch fire that you'll be looking at today? And the ACC.
I mean, when you talk about defense, I mean, you're right. But I mean, we all know as coaches and people that have been involved in the game, defense is going to win you a lot of basketball games in the tournament, especially. And I think what the defense comes back to, not to get on a different tangent here, but it comes back to what we've talked about multiple times on the show before. It's just you're putting a hodgepodge of players together every year. There's no continuity with the team a lot of times, and defense and good team defense is all about continuity, knowing where the guys are, talking, moving, rotating at the right times on the ball swings. And I think that comes as developed really good defensive teams that's developed over a couple of years. And when you're talking about putting 5 new guys on the court every year, you lose all of that and you have to start over. So I think that's why you don't see as much good defense nowadays in the college basketball. And Lord knows if the college basketball players are watching the NBA, then they don't know what the defense means. They don't play defense at all in the NBA, right? All they do is shoot 3-pointers from 30 feet all day. But I still watch. But I think as far as the teams from outside of it, and I really like Matt said earlier, I'll be honest, there's some of these teams that I haven't really watched a lot this year because I watch the ACC games that we get around here. But there's some teams I really like, and I think, most people are on the same bandwagon, but I think Arizona is a flat out amazing basketball team. I think they just get up and down the court. They got athletes to play with anybody. I think Arizona is going to be, right there in the mix. As a surprise team, I've heard a lot of people talk about UCLA, and I don't really know much about UCLA. I started doing some research on them, but I think that you could see maybe somebody like a UCLA kind of peek their head in, and their net rank is like 30th in the country. And but who knows? I mean, that's why we love this. I could sit here and predict all day.
Yeah.
And I got no shot. I got no shot at getting it right. I mean, that's why they give you $1 million if you get the bracket 100% right. You know, it's just impossible. Yeah. It's impossible.
It is. And I'm just on this fence. I'm vacillating with Florida and Houston because they played last year, but it's Kelvin Sampson's teams always play defense, and he gets counted out. No one wants to respect him. They still remember text messages or phone call bullshit, when he was at Indiana. Get over yourselves, man.
Right.
I mean,
right.
you think, hey, what do you think the burner phone was invented for? If you've ever recruited, I'll just leave it at that. But I mean, if you look at it, if you had cameras watching assistant coaches back in the day going to, Quickie Mart or wherever from Apu and buying a burner phone to call said recruit who shall remain nameless. That's what happened. But Tommy, let people know how they can follow you. I love the Wolf Pack, in two of them in the background, but I'm with you. Will Wade, great days are ahead for the Wolf Pack. They're one of the reasons, again, 79, Indiana State, Michigan State, and 83, Jimmy V. We were all such young kids at that time. That got us addicted, but how they follow you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rob. And let's just say one more thing real quick before we jump off. It's interesting as we were talking, how all of us, the teams that we talked about, hey, you got to watch out for, hey, you got to watch out for, are all coached by legendary coaches. Calvin Sampson, Izzo, Calipari, Patino. I mean, these are names that are they're like college basketball Hall of Famers, right? Yeah. So, and it's, as we all know, because we've seen them coach for so many decades now, that we know that anything can happen with those guys. I mean, that's the thing. And that's what, coaching is still, even though there's the transfer portal and all that stuff, coaching is still alive and well in the NCAA tournament. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
and who wouldn't want to sit down and drink some cold road sodas with Tom Izzo and Rick Pitino, or go to a great Italian restaurant in Brooklyn? I mean, come on with those guys, women and children, please leave the room.
That's right. That's right. And there's some good storytelling there, but I appreciate you guys having me on. I hope you all enjoy the day, and everybody that's listening and watching. It's a great day. Should be a national holiday today and tomorrow. They should just get, just call it what it is. It's a national holiday. I mean, just accept it. It is. And maybe we can petition the Mr. Trump up in Washington to see if he can get it done. He likes to do things. He likes to do things pretty spontaneously. So
it's a perfect holiday. Perfect holiday with a perfect phone call.
Tremendous.
I love you, man. Tommy, we'll do it again next week, or maybe even sooner. Okay.
Let's do it. Enjoy the day, guys.
Take care, Tommy.
Thank you. All right. Gary Harris, Tuscaloosa, man, needs no introduction. One of the best reporters around, true grit journalist. We're talking NCAA basketball. Now, John, Sunday night, we did a pop-up show. He's Molly Hatchet, reading on down the road, flirting with disaster. But he liked, in Alabama, we know the situation with Aiden Holloway. Oh, newsflash. Is he the first kid in college ever to do anything stupid? Has that ever happened before? I mean, I've got 4 kids. They're still doing stupid stuff. But Gary, how you doing?
Doing well. Good morning, guys. Aiden Holloway not being available. First of all, he's got, bigger issues, let's be honest, than playing basketball. I mean, he's got some legal consequences that he's going to have to deal with. But from a basketball standpoint, I've read some stuff and heard some people, people try to rationalize, and I get it. He's undersized, defensive liability, he's this, he's that. Listen, Alabama's better if Aiden Holloway plays, period. He's 17 points a game. He's their best 3-point shooter. The way they play in, perimeter attack, he takes some pressure off Phylon and the other guards. So there are some liabilities to his game because of his size. I agree, but they're minimized because of the way Alabama plays. So basketball wise, Alabama's not as good without Aiden Holloway. He didn't play against Texas. Of course, neither did Amari Allen in that game at home, and they lost. So if there is a silver lining outside of all the legal issues, I'm speaking strictly basketball wise, Alabama's kind of dealt with this all year. I mean, they've had guys in and out of the lineup. I think it's 14 different starting lineups. I was kidding on social media during the middle of the year. I call it the Bama Infirmary. I mean, you never knew from game to game who was going to show up on the, availability list and not be able to go. And there's still some guys that are sitting down at the end of the bench. So they're probably better equipped than most to handle losing a guy on short notice like this, but it impacts their basketball team. And then the other part of it, you're right, Rob. I mean, the stuff that's going on that we don't know about, at schools with whether it's gambling issues, marijuana issues, other issues. But in this case, again, and I'm not a legal guy. We've talked about this before. I don't really even understand how it works. I don't know much about marijuana. I don't smoke it. I don't do the gummies. I don't need it for medical reasons. I mean, I just don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But I know when you have over 2 pounds in your residence, and you have the paraphernalia, which I'm assuming is scales and what have you, and cash, it doesn't look like that. You're just hanging out with some friends and smoking a little marijuana. So again, we'll see how the legal process plays out. I hate it for Alabama. I hate it for the young man, but what they say. I mean, there's, we live in a time when people want total anarchy, but there still has to be some structure. And I've seen a lot of arguments about, well, it's legal in however many states. And I get that. And maybe it should be legal. I don't know. Maybe the distribution of marijuana, the smoking of marijuana, the, hanging out and on the side, of the street and smoking marijuana should be legal. I don't know, but it's not. It's not legal. And, as long as it's not legal, he broke the law. Clearly, if this is a drug task force, which it was, I don't think they just suddenly snapped their fingers and said, let's go in and search this guy's residence. Obviously, I'm assuming they had been tracking this for a while. The week before, he had been pulled over by university police and cited, citation, which they can do now for a very small amount in his vehicle. So I would have been, again, this is just me. I'm not him. I think I would have been on high alert after that myself, but that's where it stands. Off the court, he's got some issues that he's going to have to deal with, not just as a basketball player, but I think we forget now, he still is a student. And the student conduct policy is in play here. So, and school's out this week for spring break. So I don't expect him, even if Alabama gets through the first weekend, my expectation is that he won't play basketball for Alabama this season. And I think his career for next year, he has a year of eligibility left, is in jeopardy here too. But we'll see how it plays out.
Well, this guy, the Crimson Crab, I got him at the Fairhope Fish House last week with John Hartwell. Look at him. Now, he's got a friend.
Is there? Oh yeah, I'm about to say. Is there anything that sports paraphernalia people won't come up with a way to make it into a sports?
Yeah, but next time you're in
crab shells now.
Next time you're in Fairhope, you need to hook up and go to lunch with John Hartwell. He just moved there, but I went to the Fairhope Fish House a couple of weeks ago when I was down there. Awesome, fresh fish, shrimp, crab, everything. All right, Gary. One other thing before we go back to Matt and John, your tournament teams, SEC. Obviously, Florida's got all the momentum. Alabama's pretty damn good. Outside of those teams, you cover Alabama every day. But one thing you are fair. You're objective. Yeah. Who are some other SEC teams that can make a hell of a run in the March Madness?
Well, I've said all along, I think Alabama's ceiling is the Sweet 16. That's just my opinion. And without Holloway, I hope they get to the Sweet 16. If they get that far, I don't see them beating Michigan. I like Arkansas. And now listen, Calipari has pulled tournament disappointments before. At Kentucky, he had some teams that I thought were going to be, boom, they were going to go, and they got knocked right out. But I think Arkansas is playing well, and I think they've got a player in Acuff. And I think Filine's got some of this in him, too, for Alabama, and he may have to show more of it with Holloway out. But I think Acuff's the kind of guy that in a tight game in the NCAA tournament down the stretch, he can just take it over. He can take it over. He can get you a basket. He can get to the free throw line. He can force a turnover. He can find somebody else and distribute to, which they did a great job against Vanderbilt of finding an open guy and kicking it to him for a three. And they shot the ball really well, 3 in that game, or at least it appeared to watching it on TV. So I think Arkansas is a team that could make a run. Obviously, I like Florida. I've said all along, I think they're a Final Four caliber squad. And John and Matt can chime in. I don't think outside of Arkansas, in Florida, I think the SEC is a really good league. Maybe Vandy, because they're so consistent and solid all the way around. I don't see a lot of Final Four hopefuls in this conference this year. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's a hell of an opinion because you follow the game so closely. Dino, and then back to Fairhope.
As always, I agree with the czar of eligibility. I think in the SEC, it's top heavy in terms of possible Final Four teams. I think it's Florida, Arkansas. And we talked about this, Gary, before you came on. I will say this is also, we always talk about team defense in terms of guarding and everything, but the tournament's also a tournament of players. And Acuff is the type of guy. He's had some huge games. Like even the one at Alabama, I think, Gary, had over the 40, but Alabama won that game down in Tuscaloosa, if I'm not mistaken. But he's the type of guy that's on the top of your scout. We also have some theories, just to let you guys know. Sometimes we want to take everyone away. If he gets his, he gets his. The problem is, I think Arkansas's got a pretty good roster around them. They're not deep, but I like their first five. When Tommy was on right before Gary got on, he mentioned, no, it was John, mentioned Illinois. Illinois is a team. I could see that Sweet 16 being Illinois and Houston, John. And Underwood can coach now. Sampson can coach. The winner of that game is going to give Florida a really good game in the Elite Eight. It's hard to repeat, though. Ironically, Florida's the one team in the SEC that's done it the most recent. Yeah. Correct, back with Billy Donovan. I'll tell you another game that I'm looking in second round that could be just a media darling for the post-game interview, Gary. How about we get Cronin and Hurley, UConn and UCLA second round, and those two guys are the most bitter guys I see out there, even though they have a lot of success. I mean, Hurley he's a myth. He mystifies me sometimes. And Cronin, he's never happy. I follow the Big Ten a lot because I'm an Iowa Hawkeye. Go Hawks beat Clemson. But
Go
UCLA is very talented. And I think that would be a really fun game to watch, UCLA and UConn, especially from the sidelines.
John Hartwell, follow up on that and then back up to the eligibility czar, Gary Harris.
Yeah, I want to follow up on, the conversation about team defense. And obviously we talked about Houston and their ability to defend. I think one of the things that's really important, and as I've watched, close games here in conference tournaments last week and even the last couple of days, whether it's NIT or play-in games, defensive rebounding, God almighty, the whole, I hate to be a basketball purist, but the whole concept of blocking out has gone by the wayside. Yeah. And so many games, close games down at the end, it's not that first shot you got to worry about. It's the putback that can bite you in the tail. And I really think, in addition to defense, you've got to have some guys inside. It's not necessarily the 6'10" or 7-foot guys. You got to have guys who can rebound in traffic, who can go in, snatch the rebound, because I'm telling you, we're going to see some games here over the next couple of days that are tight games that are going to be won or lost by either a putback, getting the opportunity of a putback, or boxing out and being able to rebound in crunch time.
Yeah. Hey, some days the comment section's crazy. Other days, not so much. All of you watching on this show, first off, thank you for watching. We'd love to hear your comments, your questions. If you want us to talk about certain things, I see up Kansas, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Gary. You can never forget about them. But in this tournament, John's right about not boxing out. I mean, a lot of the fundamentals are gone. I think it's harder than it's been in memory to pick teams in these brackets. And if you got a group that's been together for 3 or 4 years, you better watch out.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're fortunate enough to have a roster that's been in place and had the same guys, and there are a few teams that do, I think once you get in a tournament, as long as they're talented enough, that familiarity can certainly benefit. And I want to piggyback on what Matt was talking about. If Cronin and Hurley do face off, can you imagine the officials are saying, man, I hope I don't draw that matchup between those guys. My Lord, there might be an incident during the game. But yeah, Rob, if you've got an experienced team, I guess they're all experienced, but if you've got a team that's been together more than a year or two, it could give you a big advantage in this tournament. I do think that, last year it was chalk. I mean, we know we had the 1 seeds. And so the odds of that happening again, I think, are long. But as far as Cinderella, I'm having a harder time picking out a Cinderella team that and for me, a Cinderella is someone below the 4 seed line. Okay. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to be 4 number ones, but I don't know that anybody from that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 area that I see that I just really love. So it's going to be that's why they play the games. There's going to be incredible stories that are going to come to the surface during the tournament. And, we'll see if there's a Cinderella, if there's a mid seed, an 8 or a 9, or even, deeper that can make a run.
Well, last year SEC had 14. This year 10. Still the most selections of any conference in America. 10 teams. And it's just hard. Get the Vanderbilt loss out of your head, Matt Dean. Florida still has the bigs that can run up and down the court, and the backcourt is good enough. Hell, they were on an 11 or 12 game conference winning streak until they lost to Vanderbilt. I think they bounced back. And I just think Houston is out there because of Kelvin Sampson, because they're going to play defense and they're not going to get the respect. And Mitt Cronin and Hurley together, put the gloves on. That would be fun. Let them fight.
Florida's just fine. That loss may have reset the whole team. Yeah. To John's point about defensive rebounding, that's where I think Florida, because of their size, has advantages sometimes in those games. Now, Florida, sometimes the talk this year has been, from the perimeter. When they're not shooting the ball well from the perimeter, they're susceptible. I would love to see a Florida-Houston rematch in the Elite Eight. I think that's great theater. I think in the Duke thing, to me, with the injuries is really curious, because prior to that, I had Duke almost for sure going to the Final Four. But I agree with Gary. It's not chalky to me, but you can make a case that I think Arizona is probably the one of all the ones that I think may have the best chance to be chalk and win the whole thing. Tommy talked about them earlier. They have a great roster. They get up and down the floor. They're battle tested. I think the Big 12 has been a great league all year. I mean, I think you can, make an argument. We could see an Arizona-Houston final. I mean, I really do. That being said, I also have one of my brackets where I took Arkansas to upset Arizona in Sweet 16. So if we're looking for a team that we haven't talked about today, look at your 3 seed in the West in Gonzaga. The Zags are well coached. Mark Few is a guy that's tournament tested. His teams will play with poise. Now, I'm not saying, if you look at the bottom side of that bracket, what if you have Gonzaga and Purdue in the Sweet 16? I can see the Zags winning that game and getting to the Elite Eight. I really can. That being said, I don't think the West on the bottom side is his dominant bracket. A lot of people really like the depth of the East bracket because you got UConn in the lower half. They think Miss Johns was kind of misseeded. And we haven't talked much about, Kansas. Bill Self, I met him at a young age when I was a student manager at Drake, and I've always been a fan of Bill Self. Yeah. And let's not forget Izzo's in that side. So I think the East, in my opinion, has the tougher road for Duke. But I also at the bottom there in the Midwest, I watched Michigan play all year. They went 19-1 in the regular season, the Big Ten. It would not shock me, guys, if Iowa State comes out of the Midwest and gets to the Final Four. And it's hard for a Hawkeye to root for a Cyclone. I'm from the great state of Iowa. It's hard for me to make that statement because my Hawks got back in. I'm just trying to see if we can beat Clemson and roll the dice with Florida. That's what I'm hoping.
All right, let's do this. I'm going to John and Gary. Gary's going to have to go in a minute. But TCU, Ohio State, these games on the screen. Gary, you want to pick those real quick before you go? And then I want to get John. I'll pick some more after that because I know everybody's filling out their brackets, and we'll try to help you.
Yeah, I think TCU and Ohio State is a coin flip. It's been so long since the Big Ten's won a national championship, but I think they've got a really good league this year. I'll go with Ohio State there in a close one. Nebraska, I think, is finally going to win a game in the NCAA tournament. Now, listen, Troy will show up and play, but I'll take the Cornhuskers there. I love Brian Hodgson. A great story. I have to go with Louisville, though. I'll take Wisconsin over High Point. I'll take Duke, obviously, over Siena. Vanderbilt's a team that, McNeese, give them credit. They're back in there without Will Wade. Vanderbilt could be a sleeper team. They're below the 4 line that could possibly make a run. Take Vanderbilt. I'll take Michigan State. I'll take Arkansas. I'll take North Carolina's going to have their hands full, but I think they'll get past VCU. And if I want to keep picking, obviously, Michigan. And then, so we're running.
That is a lot.
But they were scrolling past, so I didn't feel it.
I love this, man. Brendan is putting these games up here. And I'm going to say Texas, BYU. Wow. I'm going to take BYU, and I'm going to pick A&M St. Mary's, Buckyball against St. Mary's. I'm going to pick
Buckyball better be on alert now.
Yeah, I know. And, John, these West Coast teams out there. You've lived out there among the friendly people in Utah in the Mountain West Conference. Pick some games, John Hartwell. John,
are you muted?
Yeah.
I need the benefit of the rapid scroll from Brendan again.
That's right. It's rapid brain, man. Here we go. Penn in Illinois, the Quakers against the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, I'll go the Illini. I'll go the Georgia Bulldogs again. I don't think necessarily they've got the stay power to make a Final Four, but Georgia on any given day can beat anybody in the country. Kennesaw State, Antoine Petway.
Yep.
Man, I don't know I wonder if he's busting out the red shoes today for the game, but they'll be ready to play, but go with the Zags in that game. And then Houston in that final game of the day.
The Idaho Vandals. I love that nickname, their mascot. All right, so we got a lot. There's these games that there's 16 of them today, 16 tomorrow. Gary, before you go, what are you talking about on your show today other than college basketball?
Yeah, be plenty of that. But I'm also going to get a softball discussion in with Karen Johns, former head coach at Florida, Virginia, now an analyst in stats for ESPN. So we're going to go around the SEC in softball. And I'm sorry, a text message coming through caught my attention. I've got Jeff Spiegel on, my pal from ABC 3340. We're going to play some of Christy Curry's press conference. And I have Curry on tomorrow from Louisville. She'll be on with me in the morning from their regional site. But jam-packed show coming up at 9 o'clock, Tide 100.9 FM, 12:30 a.m. WTBC, Tide109.com. And then, of course, people can catch me on TV on WVUA 23, WVUA23.com. Thanks a lot, guys. March Madness is here.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Great stuff. All of you watching, send your comments in. We appreciate a lot of you first-timers. Keep watching, sharing, liking, and subscribing.
Hartwell, you can handle the scroll, okay?
I loved it, Brendan.
Because otherwise it's just like all day on one game, and I'm like everyone just ADD, and then you start talking about golf. And I'm like, guys, there's a lot of games. Whoa, there's a lot of games today. No shit. It's March Madness. Hello. It's day one. Hello. This just in 900 games today and tomorrow and the whole week.
And I'm going to tell you what, in picking these things, I'm going to go ahead. I've decided I am going to pick Florida to win that division. They're going to go to the Final Four. The reason I'm saying that is I think what will happen when they play Houston's defense will be good, but Florida will force enough turnovers in a tight game if they play them. But, guys, that's St. Mary's, these West Coast teams, they're going to pull some upsets early. That's my prediction.
Coach. How good really in the end is Florida having that loss? I really don't. I really think you don't want it. You don't hope for it.
Yeah.
But, man, a little gut check right before you think you're all that in a bag of chips going into the tournament, and a little bit of, I want to get some redemption is, I think is a good thing, Coach.
I think you're 100% right, Brendan. And I think you just get a reset, a different focus. I think now when Coach is up at the video room, everyone's on his attention, right? I really like Florida in the top half of that bracket. I don't think they're going to get challenged until the Elite Eight. That's just my opinion. And I think they honestly – they have a great chance of repeating. I'm just being honest with you because they have everything. I think they guard. I think they have rim protection. I think they rebound. The only small kryptonite, Brendan and guys, is sometimes from a perimeter. Maybe they're not as talented perimeter-wise as they were last year. But
yeah, I mean.
But everyone's got – hey, listen, I can go through every team in this bracket. And Duke's got injuries. Michigan is not played well down the stretch. Almost beat him in Iowa City. Arizona is really loaded. I think it could be an Arizona-Florida final. It'll be a hell of a game. That's all I'm saying. It'll be a great game.
Yeah, it is going to be great. John Hartwell, God, I think you picked St. Mary's the other night, 15 seconds.
Or less.
Yeah. St. Mary's is a really good team. And I'll be honest, if St. Mary's is the kind of team that could give Houston problems in a second game, because they're deliberate in their offense. They can shoot the three, and they're not going to get rattled too much by Houston's pressure.
Got it. Great show today, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Thanks for watching.
Rob Browne calling, game time, highlight shine, executive mind, Brandon Martin, keep 'em Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. much. I'll come back real soon.